Hey y'all, it is Andrea here at VW Family Farm, and today I am going to take y'all to the kitchen and I'm going to show you how to make a couple of really easy but super yummy things, and they are mayo and ranch, and those are pretty much staples here at our house. And I'm going to throw in a bonus recipe too of honey mustard that tastes just like the good stuff. You might be wondering, why in the world would you want to make these things when you can buy them in a bottle at the grocery store a whole lot easier? Well, a couple of reasons that I make these things for our family is because, number one, we grow a lot of food, we buy in bulk staples and things like that, so I don't actually go to the store very often, and so this saves me from going to the store just for a few little things like that that we might want. We don't absolutely have to have, but we might want them. It would cost me pretty much an afternoon by the time I drive to town, because we live out in the country, go in the store, get it, pay for it, get it loaded up, because I'm going to buy other things while I'm there. It's going to turn into a full-fledged trip usually. I'm going to spend money I don't need to spend, then I'm going to have to bring it all home, spend time putting it away and all that, when if all I was needing was some mayo or some ranch, I could have just whipped it up. Sure, it's going to take a few minutes, but I've saved myself that whole trip to town. Number two, the reason I make these things myself is because they have just healthy, wholesome ingredients. You're avoiding a lot of ingredients from conventional things you buy at the store that you can't even pronounce, much less know what they are. And so these recipes I'm going to show you are literally made from healthy, whole foods. They're good for you, as well as my final reason for doing this, they taste amazing. Once you use these, you're probably gonna have trouble going back to the traditional stuff. So if y'all are ready, let's head over to the kitchen and get started. All right, now let's do a disclaimer on this mayo before we get started. Mayo that you make yourself, you have to use something to get it to emulsify. So today I'm gonna be using a stick blender, an immersion blender, whatever you wanna call it. You can use a blender, you can use a food processor, all kinds of things to make mayo. But I have had multiple failed attempts at mayo until I started using an immersion blender. They're cheap. You can find them pretty much anywhere, any Walmart or anything like that. And it is the way I have found that makes my mayo no fail. And until you failed and then you've got a big oily mess and you thought you were going to wind up with delicious mayo, and now you've got an oily mess that won't emulsify no matter what you do, you just don't know the heartbreak. So that's why I started using an immersion blender. I would highly recommend it, and there's multiple recipes and ways of doing this out there, and this is just the one I found works best for me. Okay, first ingredient in the mayo is the juice of 1 lemon, or you can use 2 tablespoons of bottled lemon juice. At this point, these are still great to throw in some vinegar for a really good cleaning solution. Just put them in there, it'll last forever. You don't have to even take them out. It just becomes a citrus vinegar. These are also really good to still throw in a big glass of water. They've still got some juice and things left in them. So these have multiple uses. All right, also very important in this recipe, add these things in the order that I'm telling you, exact order. Okay, next is 1 egg. A half teaspoon of really good quality salt. This is Redmond's real salt. Okay, let's talk oil. The kind of oil you use for homemade mayo is going to determine so very much. You can pretty much use any kind. I've even heard of people using things like coconut oil and bacon grease and ghee and things like that, but I have no experience with that. Let me just put that out there. I have tried several different oils. A lot of people just love avocado oil, but I'm going to be honest, my family did not. They did not like the flavor of that. Extra virgin olive oil, same thing. It's just, those are really good in some things, but in mayo, it just overpowers. So the mildest thing that I have found that tastes the most like store-bought mayo, because that's what my family was wanting, is light tasting olive oil. That is, I didn't look any further because that's our hands down favorite. It tastes just delicious, just like something you would buy at the store, but better. So next is simply add 1 cup of whatever oil you're choosing. So that is it. That's all the ingredients we're gonna add, and we're gonna wait just a minute and let those layers separate just a little bit, and I mean literally just a minute or two. We want that oil on top. All right, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do, and then I'm gonna do it because you're not gonna be able to hear me over the sound of this blender. We're gonna put this down. This is a 1.5 pint jar, so it's a wide mouth jar, but it's fairly long and slender. It's my favorite jar to use for this because this immersion blender is about the same size, almost. It's a little smaller, so it does a great job. But you can use any kind of jar. So I'm gonna put this down in there very carefully so I don't disturb everything, all the way to the bottom. And I'm gonna blend for about 20 seconds. I'm gonna count it up in my head. And as I blend, it's gonna start making mayo down here, like almost immediately. At about maybe 5 seconds, you're gonna have a lot of mayo. But you're gonna keep blending for about 15 more seconds. And then at the end of that 20 seconds, you're gonna kinda tilt it just a little bit because you're still gonna have a layer of oil up here. You're gonna tilt that blender a little bit and that oil will run down the side and get down in there and get incorporated. So this is all gonna emulsify and we are about to have mayo. And that is it. That is the best way I found to make no fail mayo. You can see how creamy and thick that is down in there. One word of caution, be careful when you're coming up with the blender. If you go too far up, you're gonna have a mayo explosion all over your kitchen. So just be careful of that. Okay, so let me show you how easy it is to turn that mayo into the best honey mustard you will ever taste in your life. So we are a honey mustard loving family, but I never could figure out how they were getting it so creamy at restaurants, fast food places, things like that, which we're trying not to eat at. That's why I'm making it ourselves. But I'd mix for a long time just honey and mustard together, and that tastes good, but it wasn't that creamy honey mustard like you would get in a bottle. Until one day I tried adding mayo, and it is like so delicious. So I don't really have a recipe for this, but mayo is going to be our base. So you're going to have to do this just to taste. Mayo is the base, so you're definitely not going to do equal parts mayo and mustard. You're going to have a whole lot more mayo than you do mustard. And then this is delicious honey right here from VW Family Farm. I'm just going to add some of that, not a ton. And then I'm just gonna simply mix all this together. This can be GAPS diet legal if you use a legal mustard. The mayo is, and so is the honey. So this would be a really good thing if you were on GAPS to break things up a little bit for a dipping sauce. So this is a great condiment if you are trying to make your own things and you're trying to make them gluten-free. This is free of sugars except for the honey, which is all natural. You could make this organic if you use all organic ingredients. It is so good on so many things. Chicken or air-fried potatoes, the possibilities are just endless. It'd even be really good on a honey mustard chicken salad. All right, one more word about the mayo before we move on to making ranch. That mayo will last at least a week in the fridge, but there's also an option. You can add all kinds of things to that mayo. You can add a little mustard. You can add all kinds of herbs, anything that you want. You can add pepper, and then there's also an option. You can add a tablespoon of whey to it. Stir that in really good. After it's already made, stir it into the final product. Leave it out at room temp overnight or for about 24 hours. And then now you have made lacto-fermented mayo, and that will last a good 2 months in the fridge. So you can see the difference in a week and 2 months, and lacto-fermented is so good for your gut. So there you go, there's your another option. So let's make some ranch. Okay, this is another super simple recipe that we're going to use an immersion blender. I have to give credit where credit is due. This is actually called Dump Ranch, and it's from a site called wholesisters.com. So this is actually dairy-free. It's just got all kinds of healthy ingredients. This is good for most plans, eating plans you're using if you're avoiding allergens and things like that. It's just a really great recipe that gives you some flavor. This ranch is good on baked potatoes, tacos, salads, anything you can come up with. And the name Dump Ranch is just because it's so easy. You dump it all together, blend it, and you're done. It's just magic in a jar. Okay, this recipe doesn't say the ingredient order matters as much, so I'm just gonna put this in there just in the order the recipe says. So an egg, a tablespoon of lemon juice, so I'm only using half a lemon this time. Okay, I added a cup of light tasting olive oil. Now I'm adding 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, 3/4 teaspoons of onion powder, 3/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and finally half a cup of canned coconut milk. I like this brand. This is what I get from Azure Standard because it has no guar gum in it. It is literally just coconut milk, which is organic coconut and purified water. It doesn't have a lot of other ingredients. So this is my favorite brand. I'm going to use half a cup of this. Okay, in this canned coconut milk, the fat rises to the top, so I'm using a mixture. I dug down below it and I got some of the liquid part, and then I've got some of the more solidified fatty part. So I'm putting both of those in there. All right, we're ready to blend. Our last and final ingredient is 3 tablespoons of chopped parsley. This is dried, but you don't want to add that until the last 15 seconds or the whole thing will be green. And you can change that up to a different herb of your choice. Okay, so we're gonna blend this for an entire minute. We're gonna put this down at the bottom like we did before, and we're gonna keep it there for most of the time, and we're gonna slowly move up after quite a few seconds of blending like we did on the mayo, because we have to make sure it emulsifies from the bottom up or else it will not work. Okay, so you can see it worked. This is not near as thick as the mayo. I'm trying to put this in there so y'all can see, but ranch dressing is not as thick as mayo. So it emulsified, it turned creamy white. It's a good consistency because you want to be able to drizzle this on salads and things. And now I'm just gonna stir in that parsley. And that is it, homemade ranch dressing. So that's it. That's how easy it is. Again, the ranch dressing will probably keep at least a week in the fridge, maybe longer. So I think you're gonna quickly find that that is your new favorite ranch recipe. It's so good. I just cannot even explain it, even if you are not doing some sort of whole food plan, although I would definitely recommend it. One word of caution on the coconut milk before I let y'all go. The cartoned coconut milk will not work. It's too watery. The canned coconut milk you saw me use, you can use other brands, and the cream will be on the top in those cans. So you can use all straight cream for a thicker ranch like a dip. You can use a mixture for a little bit thinner pourable ranch like I made. So either one of those will work. They recommend on the website blending those together. If you're going to use a mixture of the two, you can see I did not, and it still worked fine, but that is their recommendation. So take that, do whatever you choose. So that's it. I hope you love those recipes. Those are my go-tos in keeping condiments in our fridge to use on whole food meals when we're in a hurry. Thanks for watching. I hope these help you out. Join us tonight live at 7 p.m. Central Time, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and God bless.